Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to a market update today for Arcane Rising. Super excited to get into it with you. It is a crazy time in the market. I'm kind of starting out every video this week by saying this, that this is simply a snapshot of where the market is today. Today is for April 3rd, 2021. And right now, this is where the market is. I do want to say that the market is still very much reacting to the news. A lot of the cards that are currently offered for sale are very high. The sold listings, there are a ton of them already, but the movement of the market is still rapidly accelerating. So make sure throughout the week that you are doing your own homework, your own research, if you use my market update or my tracker as a way to price your cards, because you really do need to make sure you're doing your own research, especially right now when the market's going crazy. Before we get into, though, I love to shout out Mitch over at the Midtown Merchant. Mitch is a good friend. He's been a great person in the community for everybody, but also for me. He's been a great friend, and I love to highlight his store. Go to midtownmerchant.com, use the promo code JustLove10 to save 10%. And then as a patron of mine, if you support me as a patron, you also get a monthly discount code for 10%. The JustLove10 is a one-time use per person, but the promo code for my patrons are that's monthly. So another way to support the channel is to go to TCG Player and use my affiliate link that is in my descriptions. And if you use that for the next 3 days, everything you buy at TCG Player supports me as a channel, and that's awesome. So click the link, do whatever you need to if you're bored. But if you really want to support me, the best way to do it, if you really believe in this content, if you really want to see more of this stuff and really encourage me to keep doing it, is to join my Patreon. And I will say my Patreon, I believe, is a really great deal for you too. At $5 a month, you get access to a collection tracker, and the collection tracker, you have access to all these collection trackers, but my favorite's the full collection tracker. So this is for all the sets, and it updates with every week when I do my market updates. The prices all update for you, so you can track the value of your collection in real time, kind of week to week. But then also I do have a tier that is a $15 tier that's a podcast. You get all access to everything, but then you access to a podcast if I were investing. It's kind of what I would be doing if I was spending money on Fab, which this week I have been spending money on Fab. I'm not going to lie to you. So let's get started. The only other thing you get is like a discount on box breaks and case breaks and all that stuff as well. But all right, without further ado, let's get into Arcane Rising, the market update. We'll get into Unlimited. Currently, a box of Unlimited is still sitting at $100. Keep in mind, anytime I say a box is $100, you can always get boxes cheaper on Facebook. I know Compete Sports often. George at Compete Sports is another great friend. I love highlighting his stuff too. Often puts stuff on Facebook, like $80 for a case, and then patrons actually get access to a lot of times first before he sells out. But awesome for him to help out the community in that way. I know he really believes. He made a post today in the Facebook group actually just talking about how players are driving the market and how the game being really well designed is driving the market. It's not just investors, and it was a really great post. So make sure you head over to the Facebook group. I think it was in the Facebook fan page even. It might have been in the market discussion. I can't remember, but go on over there and read George's post because I thought it was really good. All right, let's get to the Fabled. The Eye of Affidia, this is the Unlimited Eye, is currently selling for about $620. The prices are all over the place, anywhere from $600 to $700. They were more towards the $600 range, so I left them at $620. And this card just fluctuates up and down as boxes come in and out of the market. I've opened a lot of them lately, so whatever's going on. But let's get to the Legendaries. The Legendaries, your average is sitting about 140. We're actually up 2 weeks in a row, and this was interesting to me as we've gotten more boxes. Remember, on the 20th around here is when a lot of boxes influxed into the market, and it dipped down for a minute, but then they've just been they're right back up to the prices of where they were. Especially the Skull Cap, as more and more people are seeing this being played in many decks, as I see it being really good as your kind of head slot in a lot of the classes. Stormstrider's up a little bit too. Grasp of the Arknight is up. The only one that's down actually is the Cross Wrap, which is 2 weeks in a row, but this card was kind of heavily inflated. I don't know if there was a buyout or something that happened as a result of people specking on Monarch. I know that the Ranger cards have been spec'd on heavily. Maybe that's slowed down. Maybe people got their positions in already. And then the Teklo Foundry Heart sitting at $125. That puts your average at $140 for a Legendary, which is great. And you can see this graph, right? Like, it has been such a flat line. And this is what I'm talking about. And George, this is I agree with what George is saying, that the players are driving the market, because if this number goes down, that means that we're losing players or that there's too many boxes. I mean, one blip here doesn't mean anything. Like, this was like an influx of boxes to the market, right? But if this if this line, I mean, the legendaries are used in most decks, right? If this line was like constantly going down, just down, then that would mean that no players are entering the market. And the fact is that the game is growing and more players are playing, and that is what's driving the market. So I think that's a really healthy thing to look at. Let's go to the Majestic rainbow foils. This week we're down 3%. Nothing really to talk about other than Command and Conquer, which is a card that is down from 115 to 105. Actually got a couple of them at 115 to fill out my collection. I wanted to have 3 foil of all the Majestics, and so it's interesting to see that card go down. Anyway, is what it is. I'm not worried about it. And, you know, again, 3%, your average sitting at $33. This is another case study. I mean, it's just so flatlined. And, you know, they've done such a good job of getting product into the market. Unlimited, really, we haven't seen any blips in Unlimited since, when was that? Let's go back to the box open, the sealed boxes. We had a blip way back at the beginning of the year, right? At the end of the year last year in December at 150. And then we've been very, very, you know, even at $100, which is great. That's really helped the price of cards just kind of stick together. The regular Majestics, your average is actually up 3%, sitting again at $17. Nothing major. Command and Conquer, though, a little more soft. That's, you know, both the foil and the non-foil are both a little soft this week. Let's see what went up, though. There was something that went up. Oh, Red in the Ledger up to $12.45. Again, Ranger cards seem spicy. They seem like people are starting to kind of pick some of those up. I know I played against Ranger. You'll probably see that video tomorrow, hopefully, if I can get it edited. Tomorrow, the next day. And the Ranger deck it's not great, but it does have a lot of promise potentially in Monarch, which I know a lot of people are thinking about. So your average Majestic sitting at $17. It's an increase of 3. And you can see that's a steady line too. The super rare rainbow foils, all in all, a 2% increase, sitting in an average of $4.45. There's no major movements here to talk about. All the cards just kind of fluctuating at around the same prices as last week. Again, we didn't have like a major influx of product this week or anything like that. And a lot of the focus has been on Alpha, which we will get to, first edition, which we will get to here pretty soon. All right, let's go to the non-foils, sitting at $2.50. Again, a lot of the same stuff that I just said. You know, Knock the Death Whistle, another Ranger card that's kind of up, but really nothing else to highlight to say, hey, this is important. Lesson in Lava is still up too. But again, we're not talking about any super gains here. And if you look at the graph, these dropped down, but now they're kind of flatline. So the rares, this is the rainbow foils. Just keep in mind, I just use TCG low for the rares and commons. The rest of them I look up on Discord and on Facebook and on eBay. Your average rare rainbow foil is $1.45. A lot of that stuff is in kind of the plunder runs. The life for lives are a little high, but really it's just kind of an average price, honestly. It's not like WTR where a lot of it is in the potions. And then the rares, your average is just like 50 cents or something like that. It's really not significant. 21 cents. I was way off. So minus 5%. All right, let's get to common rainbow foils. You know, I say this every week. Your equipment still holds a little bit of value. You can add a dollar or two at the end of the video if you want to for your EV, because you are going to get one or two of these. So that does add some value to the EV, but you're not necessarily guaranteed one. And it just makes it difficult for me to calculate the EV. So if you want to add some value based on a cold foil or a rainbow foil rare or rainbow foil common, go ahead and add that at the end of the video. Your average is sitting at 89 cents. Okay, let's get into the EV calculation. So in a box, you're going to get 42 rares. You're going to get 4 foil rares, 4 super rares, 1 foil super rare, 2 Majestics, and then in 1 in every 4 boxes, you get a foil Majestic, and in 1 in every 4 boxes, you get a Legendary. And then around 1 in 40 boxes is kind of the current belief of a chance at a Fabled, and that would be sitting at $15.50 for your, you know, in 40 boxes. So if you were to open 40 boxes, your EV, what you would expect to get at an average of those 40 boxes is $123 even. And I would say if you are opening 4 boxes, it's pretty close to that, based on you're going to get a Legendary, yada, yada, yada. But if you're only opening 1 box, just keep in mind you're not going to hit all those things, or your chances of hitting them are lower. So consider your EV more like $72. Let's compare that to last week. Last week our EV was $130 or $120 basically, and this week it's up about $3. So 3% increase, and that's 2 weeks in a row that we've increased. And you can see again, the market's super healthy. I mean, we had a drop, right? But we've been pretty dang plateaued. I guess we've dropped a little bit. I mean, it's just kind of an even keel though. No like hard dips, like in Magic the Gathering, right? Like the set releases and then it's like a 50% decrease, right? We are not seeing that. Let's get to the top 10 cards, the weekly top 10 foil gainers. The top 3 we'll talk about: Pursuit of Knowledge, just a little gain, 50%. Lesson in Lava, 24%. The big one here is Arknight Skullcap, up from 185 to 220 for an 18% increase. The non-foil cards are, 2 of the 3 top ones are Ranger cards. From 7 to 12 is Read the Ledger, that's 77%. 3 of a Kind from 3 to 4, that's 32%. And Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath from 2 to 260 to 30%. The cards that lost the most value are Art of War, the rainbow foil version, went from 46 to 40. It's a 13% loss. And then Tome of the Aetherwind from 5 to 550. Not really that big of a deal, but 10%. And then Command and Conquer again was soft. So 115 to 105, that's an 8% loss. And then the non-foil losers: Rusted Relic, Spark of Genius, Pursuit of Knowledge, all super rares, all losing anywhere less than $1. Not really that big of a deal. Okay, now the moment that everyone's been waiting for. Let's get into Arcane Rising. Let me just remind you that this is just going to be the market snapshot. You should not be selling cards at these prices right now. The market is going up, so you should not be selling cards at these prices right now. Just want to stick that out. And that's my opinion. If you want more of my opinions, I do have a podcast. It's $15 a month, but I think it's great. So go to my Patreon at patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG if you want more of my opinions. This is just the facts, everybody. If you would have listened to my opinions, you would have bought and sealed Arcane Rising because I said it was undervalued. And here we go. We're up 75% and okay, I do want to say I picked the highest value here. I'm going to usually I try to find an average, but because the market is on the upswing, I'm basically going to be taking, like, if multiple sold, the highest one. We've got 3,700, 4,000, 3,800, 4,000, 3,800, 2,600, 4,250. A case for 14,000. I mean, the market is going absolutely nuts. It's all going up. I would say around 4,200 if I were selling one today, which I would not do. That's the expectation I would be asking for would be 4,200, and then you could negotiate from there. All right, so 4,200. I mean, you can see that graph. I mean, it was stuck. It was like nothing happened in Arcane Rising, and then all of a sudden. All right, Fabled. All right, so full disclosure, everybody knows this if you've been in the Facebook groups. I was in the market for an Eye of Affidia, so I do have a lot more information than usual when talking about this one. I was talking to multiple sellers, 4 or 5 different sellers of Eyes. One that sold before I was able to purchase it. Another one that I ended up purchasing, and then there was a guy that has another one. Anyway, that's currently for sale at $16,000. I'm gonna have a video tomorrow. I sold a lot of stuff to pay. I do not have $15,000 to buy an Eye of Affidia, trust me. But I did have a lot of Magic the Gathering cards. So you saw my video today. I sold my reserve list binder to help fund that, and then I did some other stuff. I'm not gonna tell you guys what I paid, but stick with my video tomorrow, and you'll see a lot of the why behind why I purchased that. Moving on, this isn't about me. I think 16,000 is currently a raw card that you can get. I'll just leave that at that. I'm not going to get too much into it. But that is currently the price. We were at 10 grand two weeks ago. It bumped up to 15. And this sale was like the day that the information came out about the print run. So we haven't really moved up too much from there for a raw card. I know that there was a 9.5 that sold for 27 grand, and it was somewhere, I believe, between the 21st and the 28th. I don't remember when I heard the information, and neither does my source on that remember exactly the day that it sold. So I'm not sure if that was before or after the announcement. But all that being said, a raw card probably sitting around 16,000. I'm very, very confident in that because I was, talking to multiple people today or this week. So, all right, let's go to the legendaries. This is where stuff just gets stupid in terms of growth. 64% we are up this week from last week. So the announcement last week pushed stuff up 9%. But remember, everybody kind of took their prices up and raised their prices, and the market was slow before I made my video last week. Well, now the market has moved and accepted the prices that they put last week. And so we saw a bunch sell at like the $3,000 mark. The only one that we did not see sell, or that I did not personally see sell, was the Teklo Foundry Heart. So this price, I moved it up, but I made it not green because that's my perceived value of this card based on the other cards that have sold and the historical data of where these cards usually are in relation to one another. But we did, I'll pull up the Grasp of the Arknight. We did have a Grasp of the Arknight sell for $33.5. Another one sell, the 9.5 was actually right before the announcement. But this one was a raw card with tons of auctions and bids, and that's what I love to see as a content creator who's trying to value this stuff. 39 bids equaled this value. So this is a real true market value, in my opinion, for a raw card. I'm guessing that card was in super good condition, which is what people are looking for. So I would say if you are buying or selling one, make sure that you take the condition into matter, especially on a raw card. The corners matter so much. Even the centering, like people who are spending $3,500 for a card are expecting to get like a 9.5 as their goal. So that being said, your average is sitting at $2,850. The Skull Cap's up to $3,500. Storm Strider sold for $2,500. That one was a little older than the other sold listings. The Cross Wrap sold for $2,400. So you can see this graph. I mean, it's just stupid and it's crazy and it's awesome and I love it. And it's cool to see all the market moving. The next market, the next pinnacle here is like $5,000. That's where the next cards are, like $5,500 to $6,000. So, if you're a seller and you don't need the money, I would not use my prices. Like if you're looking to make sure that you're moving with the market, look at where the market is offering the cards, because it seems like buyers are having to accept sellers right now. The market could change rapidly, but that kind of seems where it's at. And getting into that, let's go to the cold foil commons. Speaking of people who listen to my advice, I've been talking about cold foil commons with my Patreon for a long time, and the data proves that the rate of cold foil commons are not that much. There's more cold foil commons. Look at this. We're getting into this, right? So there's 12. I'm going to save this for later. Anyway, your values of the cold foil commons are sitting at $400. Your average is sitting at $364. The only one I couldn't find a sold listing for was a Vest of the First Fist. So that one's a little low. That probably is up more like towards the $300 range. But all these cards are selling. They are moving. I know people. I reached out to a guy on Facebook who was like, I was like, hey, did those cold foil commons sell? Because he hadn't marked them as sold. He was like, yeah, I just can't keep up with all the messages. They're both, they're all kind of pending, but tons of interest at the prices that they were listed. And those were the $400 prices, a couple of them. But a lot of these on eBay were sold. I think I pulled one up. I think I pulled up the Robo Rapture. Look at how much interest in a Robo Rapture this week. A 480 sold and a 420 sold. So just keep in mind, just because it's a common doesn't mean it doesn't have value. The pull rates for this stuff is crazy low. So the average is sitting at 364. And if you just look at this graph, you saw it coming, everybody. You could just see it. It's starting to move up here. And then all of a sudden it is now there. So cool and interesting to see. I love that the little guys are getting some turns here in action and ability to grow, and ability to see their, I think a lot of people who don't have the money to buy legendaries are buying into the cold foil commons, and it's cool to see some gains for the Dolphins and the crew. So, all right, Majestic Rainbow Foils. Here's where I feel like I get a little bit frustrated when I'm doing the updates. There's just no data. Honestly, on Facebook, I search on Facebook, on Discord, and on TCG Player, and on eBay, and I manually go through and look at every single one of these cards and look at how few. I guess I didn't do the green back here, but green is like when I've updated these prices. So I really, look at this. Art of War. We had a sold listing for an Art of War on TCG Player for $850 here. It looks like there's a lightly played one available for $775. But Art of War sold for $8.50, right? We haven't seen a sale of an Art of War. Actually, that one we have seen quite a bit. But Command and Conquer, we haven't seen a sale for in 5 weeks. So again, please, please, please evaluate these numbers yourself and consider that like there hasn't been a sold listing that I've seen or that I've been aware of for 5 weeks. I mean, that's just the way it is. None of these cards are changing hands because they are so incredibly rare. The Majestic rainbow foils, the perceived odds of them right now, the perceived estimation is the same as a Heart of Fiandel or an Eye of Affidia. So again, it's not just print runs that matter, but there's just not enough in the market to get enough data. So keep that in mind. Again, really nothing moved this week because everyone's prices are like at the $800 range, and there hasn't been enough that have sold in those ranges. I think Alpha tomorrow should be a little different. I've seen some of those cards moving, but right now for first edition Arcane Rising, they are not. So the Majestics, though, a lot of those are moving. They are up 22%. Mordred Tide sold for 108 on TCG Player. The rest of these were on, I think some of them were on eBay, some of them were on TCG Player. Command and Conquer sold for 250. I think there were a couple that were a little higher than that too, at the 275. Art of War at 157. All in all, your average Majestic is sitting at $87.50. That's an increase of 22%. And you can see that graph too. I mean, it just kind of started moving in the last 2 weeks, again, off of a pretty stagnant bit. Let's go to the super rares. This is the rainbow foils, and we had a lot of these sell on TCG Player this week. A lot of sellers had kind of placed that $100, $120 price tag, and a lot of the cards accepted that price over this past week. Endless Arrow sold for $150. Knock the Death Whistle actually lost value from $130 to $100. Rapid Fire went from $120 to $200. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath actually lost value too, from $130 to $200. So a lot of this stuff, right? Like, last week it was 130, but 2 weeks ago it was 70. So like, if a seller saw that listing, they may have just said, all right, I'm going to list it at 100, right? And kind of in the middle of those two. And then it ended up selling. Become the Arknight sold for 110. Forked Lightning. This is one of those ones that was a weird sale 2 weeks ago that we talked about. And now it's up to 112. Tome of the Aether Wind, no difference there. Sorry. Your average is sitting at $106, and that's a 13% increase. So you can see these cards that are printed more have a less increase because there are more of them in the marketplace, 13%, as opposed to like, the cold foil commons moving up 51%. They are reacting to the news differently because of the amount that are in the market. All right, let's go to the super rares. 13% increase there too. A lot of these sold as well. Rapid Fire up to 20. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath up to 20. Become the Arknight up $1. Tome of the Arknight up a couple bucks, and Forked Lightning up as well. Again, 13% increase there. And then the rares are also, I believe they were going up. So this is just the current listed, up 4%. And then the commons don't really matter for the rainbow foils. Okay, let's get to the EV calculation, what you're here for. If you were to open up 40 boxes and you were able to sell the commons, which you won't be able to be, you'd be sitting at $2,381. Actually, I do know somebody today that reached out to me and said that they were buying rare, or they were buying bulk commons from first edition, and they were paying a decent amount of money. They weren't paying the full price, but for a bulk sale is pretty good. But if you were to sell those boxes and not sell the non-foil commons, you'd be sitting at $2,168.28. Keep in mind the commons and the rares and the rainbow foil are TCG low and not sold listings. So if you were just opening one box, you'd be sitting at $1,055. So this is the number we track, this 2168. Let's compare that to last week. We are up 31%, guys. I mean, it is just crazy. A lot of that value, again, is in those legendaries, and those common cold foils are really, really, really pushing the value up like crazy right now. Absolutely crazy. So let's go to our top 10 cards to gain value. Forked Lightning, the rainbow foil. This is one of the few rainbow foils to make the list. Again, that $40 price point the other week was a little bit low. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. This week, the value sitting kind of more averaged out is at 112. That's a change of 180%. The Null Rune boots were sitting at 175 last week. Tons of them selling upwards into the $400, 398. That's 127% gain. And then Storm Striders is the first legendary to move really up, and that's 1100 to 2500, 125% gain. But right behind it is the Grasp of the Arc Knight. That's another legendary cold foil from 1500 to 3350, 125% of them there. So a lot more cold foil commons on the list as well. Just wanted to highlight that. And then the non-foil gainers are Sonic Boom up from 22 to 50 for 127%. Rapid Fire up from 9 to 20, which is 122%. And then the first edition booster box, this is where this fits in here, okay, is only up 75%. Moving from 2,400 to 4,200. Now, if you compare that 7,500 to the other things that are changing, it doesn't seem that significant, which I thought was very, very interesting. So let's go to the cards that lost the most value. Knock the Death Whistle in foil went from 130 to 100. That's a change of 23%. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, another super rare, went from 130 to 100. That's another 21%. And then Mordred Tide, a Majestic Rainbow Foil, went from 270 to 250, and that's a loss of 7%. Let's go to the non-foil losers. Rustic, that's the non-foil ones. Rested Relic, Chains of Eminence, really nothing. Sorry, these are all zeros. That's funny. The only cards to lose value were those three. I didn't even notice that. That's funny. And that's, again, we talked about those when we got there. So all in all, I do want to say this, that the market is, again, it is still in flux. I mean, when you see that hardly any cards are losing value, and meanwhile things are going up that rapidly, make sure that you are doing your own homework. Make sure that you use this as kind of a snapshot of where the market is today on 4/3/2021, and allow yourself to do your homework. And then I would say, if you are selling, make sure that you think about, what do you actually want for the card. Don't just see the big price tags in your eyes, but actually see where do you think it's going and what's an exit point for you. All that being said, I hope that you have a great day. If you'd love to support content like this, make sure you head over to patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG, where you can get access to all these collection trackers. The best one is this full collection tracker that allows you to do that, and also is really good for trades. Like if you're trading a bunch of Arcane cards, right, you can actually make a copy of your Arcane tracker and then type it in, and then you'll see your thing there. So you'll be able to see the value of your cards to make a trade, and equal it out with another value of other cards to make a trade. Anyway, have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you, and we will see you tomorrow for the Welcome to Wraith market update.